Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Soliman, and I'm one of your fellow Phi-Sci 121 students. I was wondering, with everything that we've learned about Duchenne muscular dystrophy as well as other miscellaneous dystrophies throughout this quarter, would you guys believe me if I told you that an Olympic medalist and a muscular dystrophy patient shared the same exact genetic mutation? This isn't theory, but instead is real life. Today I want to share with you the incredible story of Jill Viles and Priscilla Lopez-Schleep. Our story begins with Jill, a 39-year-old mother from Iowa, who is also a muscular dystrophy patient. Although, Jill's muscular dystrophy diagnosis came about in a pretty peculiar way. Jill was born in the 1970s, and although she hit all of her major developmental milestones, she was always extremely tiny and skinny. By the time she hit preschool, she was falling and face planting all over the place. At some point, her parents took her in to be diagnosed by a pediatrician, and even her pediatrician was stumped. After a number of doctor's visits, Jill's pediatrician decided to refer Jill and her family to the Mayo Clinic. There, Jill, her father, and her brother were all reported to have higher than normal levels of creatine kinase in their blood, the enzyme that we know is a hallmark for muscular dystrophy. Based on this, the doctors thought that the family might have some form of muscular dystrophy, but they couldn't exactly define which type. Jill returned to the Mayo Clinic often, every summer, and it was always the same result. There was nothing new that the doctors could tell her. By the time Jill left for college, she had maxed out at 5 feet and 3 inches, as well as 87 pounds in weight. She also knew that at this point, she would have to figure answers out on her own. After spending countless hours in the library, Jill eventually diagnosed herself with Emery-Dreifuss muscular dystrophy. She identified the disease by comparing her family's symptoms with descriptions in medical literature, despite her doctor's skepticism. Her many years of persistence finally paid off when she sent a blood sample to a group of researchers that confirmed her self-diagnosis and the deficiency of nuclear lamina, a network of proteins that is produced by the lamin gene that, like the dystrophin gene, is responsible for the symptoms found in Emery-Dreifuss muscular dystrophy. After finally putting to bed any questions about her diagnosis, Jill decided to stop her medical research and focused on her family as well as her career. However, her curiosity never fully waned. Years later, Jill came across pictures of Priscilla Lopez-Schleep, a Canadian Olympian sprinter. Jill couldn't help but notice Priscilla's prominently veined and muscular physique. It was almost as if she had no fat at all. To Jill, this was pretty interesting, because she had noticed similar losses of fat in herself, but she had only rendered it down to being due to her muscular dystrophy. With the same determination that got Jill her diagnosis of Emery-Dreifuss muscular dystrophy, she was able to contact Priscilla's agent, and one thing led to another, and Jill and Priscilla were now in contact. At first glance, the comparison was frankly a little absurd. Priscilla had always been incredibly muscular, and everybody had assumed that it was genetic, but nobody really knew the genetic basis. On the other hand, you had Priscilla, who had muscular dystrophy and had been thin and tripping over herself almost her entire life. When the two women first met, they immediately noticed the same similarities. Priscilla's muscles were many times larger than Jill's, but they had the same definition exposed by a lack of body fat. In the following weeks, Priscilla was tested, and the results were unbelievable. It turned out that Priscilla and Jill both indeed had lipodystrophy. Additionally, Priscilla did indeed have a mutation on her lamin gene, the same exact gene that caused Jill's muscular dystrophy. Here's the kicker. The single nucleotide polymorphism that caused Emery-Dreifuss in Jill was just a couple base pairs away from the single nucleotide polymorphism that caused Priscilla's unbelievable musculature. To reiterate, the same exact gene was mutated in both women. It was just a couple of base pairs of difference that meant that one had muscular dystrophy and that the other was an Olympic athlete. Ever since Jill's second breakthrough discovery, both women have remained in contact. But this now brings me to a topic that we discussed in Phi-Sci 121, genome sequencing. When Jill first saw answers about her muscular dystrophy, it took years to get confirmation from researchers that her blood tests had indeed confirmed muscular dystrophy. Even when Priscilla decided to get tested, it took them moving to 3 different facilities to even find a group that actually even tested for the lamin gene in the United States. Today, sequencing a human genome can be done in a matter of days, making it much easier and faster to identify genetic mutations. It's just worth appreciating how far this technology has come and how it has opened doors in understanding genetic disorders. The efficiency and cost reductions in genome sequencing makes it so much easier to find a similarity in gene mutation, as we saw in Jill and Priscilla with regards to the lamin gene. Now that it's cheaper and easier than ever to get an entire genome sequenced, hopefully we can fulfill researchers' early goals of creating a genome bank that would contain all the different types of genetic profiles of different disease types. That way, whenever we have any newborn children, we can type them almost immediately and have some sort of biomarker prediction as to what disease genotypes and phenotypes they might be particularly susceptible to. That way, we can implement interventions in patients who have disorders like Duchenne muscular dystrophy, where the earlier the intervention is applied, the better the outcome for the patient. Who knows? With the recent rise in artificial intelligence, medicine might be due for a huge transformation in the coming years.